Hello, I'm Dawson Woodard. I'm a Spanish teacher, a coach, and a dorm parent here at Rectory. So here at Rectory, I teach a number of different Spanish courses. I teach the 5th and 6th grade Spanish, and in those classes, my aim is really to get the students engaged with the language. I want to set them with a good foundation, and I really want them to get excited about the language and the culture so that they have the motivation to work through the language when it gets a little bit more difficult in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I teach Spanish 1B, which is usually 8th and 9th graders.
Buenos días, estudiantes! Buenos días, Profe Woodard!
And then I'm now teaching a new course, which is Spanish Honors and Communication, which is designed for our students who have taken Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 already. My goal is to get students to be able to use some of those advanced structures that they learned the year before in Spanish 2 in real time in communication. And we do that by learning about different cultural events, and we read poems by Pablo Neruda or other famous authors. We watch documentaries, and we work through some pretty dense texts sometimes. So it's a really rich, deep dive into culture. One of the most important things for me is to create the kind of learning environment where the student is engaged in the learning process and excited about what they're learning. I really like to make my classes as engaging as possible and get students actively debating and talking and competing in the language. So we might be playing a game with our little mini whiteboards where the students have to write the answer before the rest of the class does it. I might play other online resources like a Kahoot, a Quizlet, or a Game Kit, or one of those things the students really enjoy. I find those are a good way to and kind of like a carrot to end the class with, but while it might seem like a game, it's really students studying vocabulary. And they get really excited about that. I like to use a lot of different multimedia, like videos and songs and things to keep the content alive and engaging. And I like to use authentic sources whenever possible. Another thing that's important for me is helping students find their voice and learn to say what they want to say. So whether that's in my 5th grade and 6th grade class where we might be debating about whether bullfighting is something that people should be doing or whether it's morally right or wrong, or when we're getting into our honors course where students are writing a Pablo Neruda style poem about a dish that they enjoy, right? But I get them to have that choice so that they're able to find their own voice in the language, and I think that is very important. So I use a communicative approach, and the goal really is to be able to communicate. So if we're learning vocabulary or grammar, you're going to have to be able to use that in conversation in real time in a meaningful context. It's not just something that we're learning for the test that's on Tuesday and then you forget about it. It's all about being able to communicate. I coach a couple different sports here at Rectory. I coach varsity boys soccer and fitness. I really love coaching soccer because it's a sport that I'm pretty passionate about, and it's just fun for me to share that passion with the students every day out on the field. I really also enjoy in the winter, I coach fitness. It's so much fun because with Mr. Ames, we get to work out with the students and kind of help them, see them evolve over the season and grow. I really find that working on dorm is a great opportunity to get to know the kids outside of the classroom and not on the sports field. So it's kind of in that downtime where you get to kind of hang out with kids and see them in their element. And it's just a kind of a different way to interact with students and really get to see who they are as a whole person. I'm from a small town in rural New Hampshire. I'm from Lyme, New Hampshire. There was endless amounts of woods to play in. It was really a beautiful space to be. I grew up in a family of 5, so I had 2 older sisters. One is now a teacher at Exeter, and the other is a psychiatrist in Massachusetts. My father was a teacher. He taught 4th grade, and I think maybe that's where I found my passion for teaching. He always told me as a child that was his favorite job. And my mother was a stay-at-home mom, but she had a degree in ceramics, and at one point made her own pottery and sold it at her own store. I went to school at Lyme Elementary School. It was kind of a K through 8, and then I went to high school at Hanover High School. And then, when I went to college, I went to Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. I really wanted to travel and go out west. And there I majored originally in poli-sci, and I started studying about inequalities in education. And through that, I did some volunteer work at a local kindergarten, and I really enjoyed that connection I had with the kids. And so I kind of changed my focus from poli-sci to education as a result of that, and I really focused on second language acquisition theories. And then I went on to the new school where I got my master's in TESOL, which is teaching English to speakers of other languages. I think my love for language really started at a young age. I kind of liked learning different and new expressions and slang from different parts of, even our country in English. But when it came to foreign languages, I remember having 105 average in my middle school French class, but it just kind of came easy to me. And once I got into college and I got into a place where I could use that information in the real world, so I was able to travel and then use the language that I'd learned in a textbook in real life with real people and make connections, it just became so much more clear that that was something that I wanted to do. I think, learning a language is a tool that opens up the world to anyone. So I think it's an amazing thing. I've always loved to travel since I was from a young age. So, I think it was only natural when I was ready to graduate high school, and I really kind of wanted to leave my general area in New England and explore beyond. I found a summer program. It was supposed to be only a 5-week program through my school that was offered by a teacher who was from Buenos Aires, and it took place in Buenos Aires, and I was going to go and perfect my Spanish and teach English at a local school. And I ended up loving it so much I didn't want to go home, so my 5 weeks turned into a semester abroad and turned into the full year, and then 2 years, and then somehow jumped to 10 years of living in Argentina. I really fell in love with the people and the culture from day one. Everybody was so welcoming and inviting. It was hard not to want to stay. So in the time I was in Argentina, a short time after I got there, I met my wife. We started a family, and in that time I started working as a teacher and a translator. I worked at ExxonMobil and Clarín, and then, which is the national newspaper, teaching English as a foreign language. And then I moved to her hometown and I started teaching at private schools and a university. And I opened up my own business, offering classes, kind of like a mini language institute, offering classes to professionals and students and families as well. Learning to speak Spanish in Argentina really helped me learn a lot faster. Through immersion, I was forced to have to speak every day. I didn't have the option. And so in my daily practice, that's something that I encourage my students to do in the classroom, is to immerse themselves in the language. I'll often say we can only speak Spanish, and you have to maybe ask permission, puedo hablar inglés, in order to speak English. Because I really think unless you get in the mindset of I can't say anything else because it won't be understood, you won't actually force yourself to make those connections and learn how to speak more fluidly. I live here on campus with my family, with my wife, Natalia, and my 2 daughters, Olivia and Chloe. My wife is also a Spanish teacher. Here she works next door at Pomfret School. And so it's really great because she's also working at a boarding school and teaching the same subject. And so we're able to share a lot of different things that work in the classroom and help each other and talk about our experiences teaching, and it's wonderful to be able to share that with her. Outside of rectory, I do a lot of things. I like to play guitar. I play in a band with some other faculty members, and I also like to run. It's really a sport that I really enjoy and is amazing, and I recommend it to anyone. People call me Profe here at Rectory. I guess it's a nickname. Profe for me was always what kids call their teachers in Argentina, and it's what people called me. Since I taught, they would always call me Profe. Hey, Profe! And so I love keeping that alive, and I have kids, I always tell them in my classroom to call me Profe Woodard, and if they want outside of the classroom, they're welcome to call me Mr. Woodard. But it gets to the point where some people think that Profe is my actual name. If you're thinking about joining the Rectory school community, I would say it's a wonderful place for your student child to come and learn. We have a very good faculty to student ratio, and we really get to know your kids, and that really helps us to help your child grow and help get the best version of themselves out of them. And everybody here is invested in seeing your student grow and succeed and be the best they can be.